Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Monday night, you already know what's going on. The Boxing Shop, the illest crew in boxing podcasting. What's going on, Ray? How you doing, man?
Hey, man. We're here, bro. We're here. Good weekend of boxing, surprising. Yeah, looking forward to this show.
Yeah, it was definitely, I'm not even going to say surprising. It was unexpected, is what I can probably say, because none of us expected Ryan to do what he did based off of his pre-fight antics. But surprising, no, because he's got the skills, the speed, the power. We all know what he's capable of. So I want to say unexpected, not necessarily surprising. But before we get into that, do you want to talk about the undercard, or do you want to jump right into it?
Man, call it.
Let's talk. Let's spend some minutes. Let's let the chat fill up with some people real quick, and we'll go on the undercard here. I do owe you some shots, which I don't have any supply.
I know I want to bet. They told me Crappy Ramirez is fighting. I said, who's he fighting? You said, I don't know, but he looks decent. This is at the weigh-in. I said, oh, he looks decent. That's enough to beat Crappy. That's all I needed to know. And we put some shots on it. And sure enough, bro, my boy Jimenez, he handed out a beatdown pretty much for 12.
I didn't even get to catch that fight. I was still out. So I'll let you break that one down if it even deserves a breakdown.
No, I mean, I never thought Ramirez was that good, man. And I don't know when they try to push people as like, oh, they have charisma or whatever. Like, it's not charisma because they dress crazy or whatever, like because he comes down with a cool walkout outfit. That's doesn't mean anything. Like, if you ever had seen him fight at any points, he's always had the hype behind him, but nothing really warranting that in the ring. And for a while, I just knew as soon as he was matched up with someone halfway decent, which he's already kind of shown. He almost got beat earlier, but he was going to lose. And it's not really his fault, right? Like, he started boxing late. You can't – I mean, you can – but like with those guys that start boxing at in their 20s or at 20, like you can't expect much. I mean, you've had a few outliers. I think Sergio Martinez comes to mind. Of course, Deontay Wilder. But Ramirez, to get to where he has with that little experience, props to him, right? Like, that's crazy, honestly. But I just knew as soon as he was matched up in a 50-50 fight or someone that could handle themselves, he was going to lose. And that's what happened.
Yeah, and it's a shame because I was a fan of the guy. I mean, he was a character, but he's not an obnoxious character. To me, at least, he wasn't an obnoxious character. I know you weren't a fan of him.
Well, man, usually when I'm not a fan of most guys wearing the skirts, right?
Yeah.
so that like, if you wear a skirt, like, you got to really win me over because I'm already against you. And he never did. And then the talking and be a world champion, like, nah. So I mean, I was getting my hate on.
Hey, obviously it worked out. It paid off well for you this weekend. And I will say, I was tuned in because I was out having dinner. It was my sister's birthday. I was reading I was on Twitter reading the comments of what everybody was saying, and man, it was not positive about Scrappy at all. A lot of, is Scrappy overrated? People just saying, he's going to put me to sleep, wake me up when the card starts. Like, it was definitely not good. So not a good night overall for him at all.
Like I said, man, and he's a boxer. He got in that ring on a big stage. For him to do that when he started boxing, they said at 20, so I'm going to take their word for it. That's a win, right? But like, when you're in the ring with someone at that level, or, it's going to take more, and he really wasn't able to do anything, right? Like, Jimenez, it showed he was a legit pro. And just kind of took it to him, man. I think that's just, hey, you started in the game late, right? Like, maybe if you start boxing at 10 or whatever, Ramirez would be a lot better. But he started boxing late, and for him to get to where he is, you got to take that as a win. But he had no chance, man. Like, I'm not big on Julian Chua either as a trainer. So I was like, yeah, bro. Like I said, when you told me the guy looked like he could fight, I was like, all I need to know when he placed the bet, bro. The Menez was an underdog. Like I think I got him at like plus 200 or 190 or something. All I needed to know just because of what I've seen of Ramirez.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a crazy eye call right there, basically, because that's what it was. The undercard, we won't spend too much time because I mean Beck the Bully was on there. I mean, it wasn't something super impressive either. That cut was nasty.
Nasty cuts, but I mean that fight should have been over in 2. If it's over in 2, then maybe I'm a little higher on Beck the Bully. I've seen him look better. I've seen him come out more aggressive. Maybe he's working on not being so aggressive, but it did nothing to make me think Beck the Bully is a factor at 168.
Yeah, not at all. I think, honestly, I think Gabe Rosado took his soul, and it's going to take him some time to get that back again.
Yeah, I mean, even though he beat Gabe Rosado, I do think that's going to always live with him. Like you just said, like it took a part away from him, that knockout. Like, you know, he knows he can't fully go all out because he could get clipped. And, you know, Gabe showed that.
And his opponents know that too now. Sergey Derevyanchenko. Go ahead.
I just reminded of something when they were talking about Beck the Bully's opponent. They're like, what do you know about him? I've never heard this, bro. Like, we're on a pay-per-view, big fight. And like, I think the most that Sergio Mora could say he knew about his opponent was, oh, he's tall. He's muscular. He has a good build. I'm like, oh, that's what you got? Like that. While he's walking to the ring, he's like, is this your first time seeing him? I mean, hey, let me throw Sergio Mora some bell, which I'm not a fan of him either, but yeah, bro, I never heard of this dude either. And yeah, he was muscular, right? That's what Sergio Mora said. So that's the kind of opponent that he was in.
Not only that, I mean, on his last 5, I mean, this is before the Beck fight, his last 5 fights going into there, he was 4-1. So, I mean, that tells you the level of opposition that he was there as well. And he's kind of one of these guys that's just in there. He's already fought 3 times in 2024. So he's one of those guys that's in there. He's active. He's just getting those paydays and padding records, basically. He went in there. He did what he's supposed to do.
I will say this, though. I didn't know that he had fought that many times this year. And Jimenez, too, who beat Ramirez, he had also fought 3 times this year. That should show these boxers, if you stay active, you're going to get a big opportunity. So, I mean, I can't hate on activity. And, you know, I just wish more boxers would do it. Because, yeah, I mean, if you're active and people are seeing you, that means promoters are seeing you and maybe you get a shot, you know, so.
Right. And at that point, too, when you're as active and you fight a guy with a losing record, the critics aren't going to be as harsh on you. Look at Chavez. He fought a lot of guys with losing records, but he also fought a lot of top guys, too. Everybody knew what it was. He was giving the fans something to watch during those, you know, tune-ups, and he was just staying sharp himself.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference, right? When you're like, oh, this dude fights bums, whatever. But I promise you, if Tank Davis, which I'm sure his name will come up later as well, but if Tank was fighting guys with an even record or 5 losses, whatever, but if we saw him 5 times a year, 4 times a year, nobody would care, right? Exactly. And then you give us one even fight or whatever, but where he fights, where he doesn't fight, and then he comes back and it's not the fight we want to see, you're gonna get a lot of hate, bro. That's got to be expected. So
activity for you.
You know, that goes back to kind of Danny Garcia, right? Like he was active, and even if he fought a Rod Salka, bro, you get a highlight reel. You get a highlight reel, and you move on to the next. I just really like activity, and if you are active, like I think boxing fans give you a pass.
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt. Derevyanchenko picked up a decision win. Charles Conwell picked up a 6-round TKO. Amari Jones was the most impressive to me. He tore apart his opponent, and it was a tough opponent as well too. Amari Jones, I'm not sure if you caught that, but that was a good tough fight. Shout out to Amari Jones. We'll have him on this platform pretty sure sooner or later. Hopefully sooner than later. And then Arnold Barbosa, Sean McComb. That's an interesting one because I was just getting home. It was a busy evening. I had kids and all that. Was trying to get everybody settled, and I wasn't really paying too much attention. I had it on. I was listening, but every time I looked at the screen, it seemed like McComb was getting worked. Barbosa was throwing. He was landing. He was pushing forward. Every time I looked over, every single time I looked over, I was like, Barbosa's got this in the bag. Every single time. It wasn't until maybe a couple of times where, it looked like McComb was boxing and being slick maybe. So then I'm hearing from you guys in the ITR chat that McComb's got this in the bag. And I'm like, I don't know about that. It doesn't seem like it to me from what I've seen. I'm not watching carefully, but it doesn't seem like he does. And sure enough, he didn't. But, you actually sat there and watched it, I believe. What was your take on that fight?
Who did he fight?
Arnold Barbosa, Sean McComb.
Yeah. So he fought Sean McComb. Who did Sean McComb fight in his last fight? Exactly. Barbosa, you bum. Whether even if you won that fight, like, bro, stop talking, man. That's what bugs me the most. Like, these dudes that just talk, and I get you got to talk to get into fights, but you can't talk and then rob Sean McComb. Like, nah, man. Like his stock plummeted. Never want to see you again. You're boring. You can't punch to save your life. Like, he was mentioning everybody. He wanted Devin. He wanted Ryan. All these guys are scared of him. First off, you had 11 knockouts. Like, nobody's scared of you. You're boring. You robbed the dude. Even if you won the fight, like, come on, who'd you fight? I had never heard of this guy until Saturday when they announced his name. So it is what it is, man. It goes back to, like, it's just when these dudes talk. I just don't get when these dudes talk with, like, and then they don't deliver. You have to deliver. You're on basically a showcase. They were showcasing you so that you could maybe fight the winner of the main event at some point, right? And when you just go and you talk so much and then you give that performance, like, I don't want to see you ever again.
Yeah. And I'm with you on that. I mean, he has been running his mouth a lot. He was very vocal, especially on social media, about calling out a lot of guys, and in the post fight, of course, as well too. But given that platform, you definitely want to make sure you show out.
And bro, and I'll say the same things for dudes that I am fans of, right? Like Raymond Murataya, just recently, like, he had a lackluster performance. Like, you can't deliver that type of performance with the talk you're giving. And in boxing, you're only as good as your last fight. So, like, you have to deliver, especially when you're bringing the eyes on you, then you have to deliver. So I thought Barbosa was the big loser of the weekend, even though he won.
Yeah. Hey, I'm with that. I
agree. Barbosa's boring. Murataya ain't. Hey, I'm not saying Murataya was boring. I was just saying Murataya had a bad performance after talking so much. Yeah.
What's up, Nibs in the building as well. So we'll get into it now. We covered the undercard. We've got some people in the chat now. Shout out to everybody. Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. Again, I said it at the top of the show. Not surprising, but definitely unexpected. I'll give my thoughts and I'll kick it to Ray because I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say about it. But again, we know what Ryan Garcia is capable of. We thought, based off of his pre-fight antics, that he's not focused. He's going to go in there. He's going to swing for the fences. He's going to quit. He's going to get dropped. It's going to be easy work for Devin. And then Devin's on to, bigger, better things. We didn't expect Ryan to actually be focused and go in there and do what he was going to do. The speed was there. The power was there. It's always been there. Against Tank, it wasn't, for obvious reasons. The rehydration clause. You can look at side-by-side pictures. The guy was like a skeleton in that fight. Ryan looked healthy here, and he was focused, and he did what he needed to do. Now, I will say, if it wasn't for the knockdowns, Devin Haney would still be champion right now, or undefeated right now. But with that being said, do you want to see a rematch? I wouldn't mind a rematch, but not right away. Let's put that down the line. I think it was such a decisive win, at least for Ryan, that even without the knockdowns there, I think it was such a good win for Ryan that let's move on. Let's get these guys mixed in with each other. Shakur, Tank, everybody else that wants to smoke around that area. But either way, again, unexpected, but not surprising. Ray, I'll kick it to you now.
Yeah, man. Last week we were, and I don't think there's anyone, right? Like last week, I was like, I don't know how you could say Ryan Garcia is going to win this fight, right? Just because of the antics, because of what he was doing, and we were going back and forth, basically on the same page, saying, bro, even what he's doing is not selling the fight. Like, why are you doing this? It did, to me, it didn't bring any interest to the fight, but apparently he knew what he was doing, right? Like, do we call him a genius because he was able to make everybody think he stood no chance because he was off? And I think that played into Devin as well. We've all seen the video of Ryan doing his little song, and Devin Haney saying, I don't know if Ryan Garcia is taking this fight serious. And I think that was Ryan's plan, right? Like, I mean, and it's not just, you can say like, oh, none of you guys knew. Bro, he had the odds makers fooled. Because those odds for Ryan win were crazy.
Right. So,
like, this dude stuck to his plan. Like I said, I don't think it had anything to do with selling tickets, because tickets, as you saw last week, they weren't selling. I think it was 100% to get into Devin's head. Like the whole fight week, is this fight going to happen? Is Ryan going to show up? I think Eddie Hearn said, they hope he shows up, whatever. All the antics, I think they were to get into Devin's head and make him unsure of what was even going to happen. And then when it did happen, you had two high-level guys. And, hey, like Devin said, he said, I was sleeping. And Ryan just showed, like, bro, you can't sleep on a high-level guy. We talked about Crappy Ramirez earlier, starting at 20 years old. I think Ryan said it like, what, you guys didn't know I could box? I've been doing this since I was 6 years old. So, yep. I mean, that's an expert, bro. Like, you can't count a guy that's been doing it for so long. You can't count him out, especially when he has one of the biggest gifts in boxing. That left hook.
Yeah.
It's there.
And I've said it time and time again, Ryan is he definitely is one of the fastest fighters of all time. And I put him up there with, Leonard, Mayweather, Mosley, like, any one of them, Whitaker, he's up there with them, if not better, speed wise. Nibs here saying Haney looked real regular. I mean, I think Haney still looked like Haney. I don't think he looked any worse than he normally does, but he was, Ryan did what he needed to do, and it was still a competitive fight. Again, like I mentioned, if it wasn't for the knockdowns, the scores were, painted a different picture, basically.
I'll say this, Nibs. I don't think there's anything wrong with looking real regular. I think that's what Haney does best. Like, he's a boxer. Everything's kind of perfect, right? Like, he kind of has great defense. He can move around, but he's never really been outstanding in any part of the game. He's just real regular, but real technical, real, he's at a different class in boxing, and he finally fought someone. And I said this even going into the fight, right? Because I started, as we got closer to the fight, I'm like, no, Ryan's got this. Because Devin's kind of always had problems with people who could break that, him being regular. And what breaks that? Speed. And and we've seen that with Lomachenko and with Linares. Like Devin's still Devin, but if you could sneak in there with speed and kind of throw him off, there's success. And Devin said I was sleeping and Ryan wasn't. Like that left hook first round, I think that changed the fight. That set the tone right away.
Immediately. And let's point out too that Devin did rock Haney. Devin rocked Haney. What the hell? Devin rocked Ryan at one point. I think it was the fourth round, maybe.
Yeah. Ryan kind of threw his gloves down, like he was mad about it.
Yeah, and yeah. They went toe to toe. They stood in the ring like they said they were going to do in the middle. It was kind of a rough fight. Harvey Dock did a horrible job as a referee. I'd say that was bad on his part.
No, bro, no lie. Harvey Dock had money on that fight. That's my thoughts. Allegedly, whatever, because that's not a fact. But if you talk, he had to. That was one of the worst officiated matches I've ever seen. And, I'm drinking Saturday night, and maybe I was like, maybe I'm off, but I'm telling you guys in the chat, like, this is crazy. I've never seen anything like this.
Right.
I watched that again. That he had to have something on that, because there were so many knockdowns that he didn't call knockdowns. He just said, slips. I thought Devin was out, I think in the 7th round, and Harvey Dock doesn't even have him walk to him. I think if he has Devin walk to him, I think Devin stumbles, bro. Like Devin was out of it. He didn't do any of that. He was, he took the point from Ryan, which, all right, he hit him. But I've seen plenty of refs pull the arms off the guy holding, just pull them off. No holding. Ryan was free. So Ryan punched, and then right away he just takes a point. Like, it was crazy, bro. Like that fight should have been a stoppage win for Ryan Garcia, and it might have hurt Devin in the long run, because he took a lot of punishment in the following rounds that he probably didn't need to take. Yeah,
very true. He showed a shit ton of heart. Showed that he's a true warrior, true champion, a true fighter. But they always say if you don't have to, why should you? You know what I mean? And he didn't have to take all that punishment. With that also being said, I want to point out what Weedy said. Haney looked drained at the ceremonial weigh-in, while Ryan already looked rehydrated. That was concerning to me too, because by that time they had already weighed in. You can rehydrate and do all that, and Haney still looked a little drained at that point. Ryan's strategy of not coming in on weight was brilliant. That I'll take the L. I'll lose out on this little bit of money. Well, it's a lot of money for us, but for him, it's change. You know what I mean?
If you think about it, like how into this was I'm going crazy was Ryan, right? He's looked pretty normal post fight,
right?
Even so at the press conference, right? He says, if I come over, like he's on weight, and Devin Haney's like, no, you're not. And then Devin Haney throws out $500,000. Ryan's like, okay. And you see Ryan's dad and even Derek James kind of looking like, bro, like you don't need to do that. Ryan's like, oh, okay. So then Devin Haney kind of ups the ante and says, hey, Ryan, $500,000 per pound. Bet. And Ryan's like, okay. So he bets, right? So then the next morning goes to Twitter, Haney does, and says, Ryan's 3 pounds over. So if you're Devin Haney, you got to be like, bro, this dude is crazy. This dude's not ready for a fight. So I think even that played into Devin Haney's mind.
Oh, yeah.
And then Devin Haney, we see a tweet from Devin Haney. Ryan honored the bet. It's like, bro, you have a fight later on. And I'm sure all this is going through Devin Haney's mind. Like, bro, he just gave me 1.5 mil for nothing. He probably wasn't thinking those 3 pounds even mattered.
Right.
And yeah, so is Ryan Garcia a genius? Bro, he's looking like it. There's a case for it.
Right, right. Great strategy. And then he did say in the post-fight press conference, he's like, it's humanly impossible for me to get below 143. He's like, I've tried every strategy, every technique, everything possible. I cannot get below 143. Which, let's talk about Tank for a minute. I mean, what do you think about Tank seeing this performance now and seeing how a good, healthy Ryan looks?
So, hey, that picture has been circulating. Ryan against Devin in the ring, and then Ryan against Tank in the ring. That's a different fighter, bro. It's a different fighter, and it really makes Tank look really bad. I'll say it, man. And hey, as the A side, you have that pool, but Ryan's been saying, hey, I did it because I wanted to help boxing. I wanted to get the fight made. This was the only way the fight was going to get made. And Ryan's like, I don't care. I just want to fight. I want to give the people what they want. You see that picture side by side? You're like, yeah, come on, Tank. Like, come on. And then you see what Ryan did to Haney, and then you're like, oh, okay, Tank. I see why you did what you did. Ryan probably would have put it on you if he was at his best, I should say. So I don't know, man. It doesn't look good for Tank, bro. I'm a big Tank fan. I think Tank might be the best out of the 4 kings, or there's probably 5, 6 people now in that argument. But it's just hard to go to bat for him, bro.
Yeah, and we talked about it before. There was always some sort of advantage that Floyd had over his opponents, and Tank is following that same blueprint. Tank also now has some sort of advantage over his opponents in one way or another. It's never even. There's always some sort of advantage. You can mark an asterisk over all of his wins, basically.
It gives you the argument. Yeah, there's that argument. And I go back to even, people say, oh, Ryan came in heavy, 3 pounds over or whatever. Well, hey, that's kind of what Floyd, right? Floyd set that blueprint, right?
Yeah.
What, like with 3 pounds? Okay, Floyd made Canelo come in 2 pounds less, and you see what it does to a fighter, right? So, like, is that the argument you want to take? Because then we could keep going back through history and see. I just thought, yeah, bro, that when those pictures came out today of the side by side, I was like, man, it doesn't look good for Tank.
Right. And he's going to have to really show us something because Frank Martin's no pushover. So, he's going to have to show us something really spectacular against Frank Martin to really get back on, his winning ways, which,
But, does he though? Because it's Frank Martin, and Frank Martin's a good fighter. Frank Martin's undefeated. Look, Felix, come on. If I tell you, yo, Felix, Tank, highlight reel KO against Frank Martin, you're going to be like, okay.
Yeah.
Frank's
not elite at all, but he's not a pushover either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but when it's your first fight of the year, like you're gonna be in June already. Is that when it's supposed to be?
Yeah, June 15th.
That's what I'm saying. Like, come on, bro. If you fought Frank Martin in February, I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. We'll see him again. But this is your fight in how long? You're fighting Frank Martin. No matter what he does, I'm gonna be like, okay, he knocked out Frank Martin.
He's probably, we probably won't see, maybe we'll see Tank again in November. I want to say there's a chance that we see that, but he's going to go into this, one.
And Tank's the older of this group.
Right.
And it's like, man, I just really, we've seen him in there, the sparring video against Haney. We saw what he did to Ryan, but I just feel like, I feel like his career has been managed horribly. Maybe money-wise, he's making the most money ever. I don't know about that. I don't care about that. But, like, to boxing fans or to me, it's like, bro, you could have done all this. Like, look what Ryan Garcia did to Haney. Tank was afraid of that or what?
Right.
Like, if Tank would have did that, bro, where would we be talking about Tank right now? But he don't want to take those type of fights for whatever reason.
Exactly.
And props to Ryan Garcia because he's trying to make these fights happen. He's already fought 2 of the 4 kings.
Yep.
You know,
one against his promoter's best wishes. They didn't want that Tank fight, but he pushed
one,
for it.
yeah, and one taking. Well, he was complete B side, right? Rehydration clause, all that, and he still at least got in the ring and did it.
Right.
So I just think like I don't know what's going on with or what they're thinking with Tank. Maybe it's just like, hey, let's get this for sure money, and we don't need to really push ourselves.
And see, that's the thing. You know what? One thing you don't see on BoxRec for all these fighters and all their records, you don't see how much they made. There's not a single fight on BoxRec that shows what they made on that particular fight. So at the end of the day, yeah, you're securing your legacy, your family, money-wise, financially, which is important, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to the sport only, what are you really doing? What kind of legacy are you going to leave behind? And I think Tank, I've defended him for so long because I'm a big Tank fan. People are saying, his record isn't that good. He's not fighting people. It's getting harder to defend him at this point.
Well, when does he fight? June what? What's the date? There's a date, right?
June 15th.
June 15th, Felix. We're gonna come here about June 17th, and we're gonna talk about, okay, who should Tank fight now? That's all we're gonna talk about. Like, yeah, he knocked him out, but who should he fight now? We're gonna hope that he fights Teofimo. We're gonna hope that he fights Ryan. No rehydration clause. It's just like, man, that fight against Frank Martin does nothing except, I guess, it puts money in his pocket. Cool, but it's gonna do nothing for his like legacy that we're talking about.
Now it is gonna look good on his record, though. Way in the future, because Frank Martin, win, lose or draw, he's destined to be a champion. He's destined to accomplish a lot of good things in the sport, without a doubt. In my opinion, Ray doesn't seem to agree, but I think does. I'm kind of high on Frank Martin. So I think Tank is he's taking, the same way he beat Isaac Cruz early in his career. He's going to have that victory over Frank Martin, and it's going to age very well if he beats him, of course. You never know what might happen that night. Of course, we never know. As a fan, you kind of, when you see stuff like what happened to Haney, and Garcia with the weight and everything, Haney, saying, whatever, pay the money, you come in at 143, Tank, doing the rehydration stuff, makes you kind of root against Tank a little bit. Like, all right, you're going to fight Frank Martin, even playing fields a little bit. I wouldn't mind seeing you take an L based off of just what you've done in the past. Karma, I guess you could call it in a way. We'll see what happens on the night of the 15th, though, for sure.
I mean, really, all that when that night comes, all the pressure is on Tank.
Yeah,
I'm already giving Tank the win. All the pressure's on Tank, because if Frank Martin loses, oh well, we expected that. So not only does Tank have to win, he has to win impressively. And going back to Isaac Cruz, that's kind of what he fell into that. Like, yeah, he won. But bro, you didn't even knock him out, right? And that was on a late notice, so people kind of looking like, hey, let's see that again,
right?
And
again, much like the Ryan Garcia performance, where we saw a fully healthy Garcia, we saw what Isaac Cruz did with a full training camp, not a late replacement against Raleigh, and all of his other fights, really. But the Raleigh fight specifically, we saw what a fully trained Isaac Cruz is capable of. So there's that too. So there's a lot of the things that are coming out now that are kind of making us look at Tank in a different light. Like, hey, what's really going on? Why is there always some sort of advantage? And I'm curious to see if there's anything over Frank Martin at this point.
Yeah, and I don't really think it's Tank, honestly. Like, I think it's the Mayweather Promotions blueprint, right?
Yeah.
And that's Leonard Ellerby. Whoever's making the calls, like, hey, just follow this route and we'll make money, you'll make money, good to go. As a boxing fan, like, that's not really what we want. Like you said, like, money made doesn't show on BoxRec. And even if it did, I'm not going to, well, some people will, but he made this much money for this fight. Right. I don't care. I don't care about that. I mean, run that through a business class or something.
Right.
Like, we want to see the fights we want to see. And, Tank is he's really not giving us that.
The only time I care about what fighters make is if people from other sports are like, oh, this basketball player is making this or this football player is making that. Yeah, well, this is what this fighter made on this one night. That's the only time I want to pull up those stats.
Yeah, I mean, you can pull it up, and I mean, it's a Mayweather thing, though, right? Like, we always wanted to see Mayweather Margarito, right? That gets brought up because of the styles. Whether Floyd would have beat him or not, okay, Floyd would have beat him. But what happened when that fight was supposed to happen? Floyd fought Baldomir for $1 more than he would have fought Margarito. And it's like, come on, man. Like, it's just about being able to say, oh, I made more money versus fighting him. And at some point, man, that doesn't matter. And I think it turns fans away.
Exactly. And like Weedy said, those boys got way more money than me. I don't give a fuck about that. I want to see quality, entertaining fights.
Yeah.
And yeah, Nibs, it is called prize fighting, but the prize is legacies, championships. It's not about the money.
I mean, and we're not saying fight these guys for free. Like, these are still major fights. You can't tell me he's going to make more fighting Frank Martin than he would fighting Teofimo Lopez.
Right.
Like who's going to make more money? Maybe Mayweather Promotions or maybe Al Hain PBC, whatever, because both fighters are in the same whatever. But you can't tell me he's going to make more money fighting Frank Martin than he would fight Teofimo Lopez. That's just not true.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And, with that being said, bringing up Teofimo Lopez because, the whole Four Kings really, I mean, I don't even want to call them Four Kings yet until they all fight each other. They're not kings yet.
You didn't want to call them the Four Kings after Ryan became the king of the kings, huh?
I'll say Ryan is the king of the 5 of them right now because he's the only one willing to. And Devin hasn't done it yet, but Devin's proven that he will fight anybody and do anywhere.
I will say this, man. I felt really bad for Devin because I feel like Devin I've never been big on his style, whatever. He even kind of reverted back to, I called him holding Haney. He was a lot of holding, and that's on Harvey Dodd. But that's a different story. But Devin Haney has kind of done everything that we want to do. Like we said, stay active, fight the biggest fights. He's gone to Australia. He's done all this. And then in the Ryan Garcia fight, bro, he was out. He was out of it. And he kept getting up. He kept getting up and kept trying to fight. He was outmatched. He was outgunned. But he still stood there to the end. So, props to Devin Haney, man. I hope he can come back from this. Honestly, I don't know if he can. Like, he took a bad beating, bro. Like, I hope this isn't a Meldrick Taylor situation, where they're just not the same. But he took a lot of punishment, and where he doesn't have a punch really to keep people off of him. And now in this head of now with this happening, and that always going to be in his head of how bad he got beat. I don't know how he comes back. I hope he does, because I do think he's what's good in boxing and kind of what I hope other fighters aspire to be. But he got beat bad.
And as much as we've talked about Tank and finding some sort of advantage over his opponents, Devin has been the complete opposite, in which he wants his opponents to be completely comfortable, whether it's their hometown, whether they're getting a bigger cut of the pie, whether it's the weight issue. Devin gives them not necessarily advantage, but he doesn't want any excuses either. He lets them fight as comfortable as they need to be and feel. And, that alone speaks volumes too. So, I again was never a huge fan of Devin's style. I like smooth boxers and whatnot, but Devin was never entertaining still to me. He was still a little boring to watch, but
because and I'm sure you could go back and they've kind of switched places in my mind, maybe multiple times, him and Shakur. I would say, like, when Devin was in trouble, he didn't get out of it with jabbing and his boxing. He would hold. He would kind of hold and whatever. And then we saw him against Regis, and we're like, oh, he didn't even do that at all. But he reverted back to that, just the holding, let the ref break it up. Holding, let the ref break it up. So, yeah, his style, I've been a big critic of it. But man, I just don't know how he comes back from that beating.
Yeah, we'll see. And he showed a lot of heart. I think he does come back, but I think it's going to be hard if he fights somebody tall. Like if he fights Teofimo Lopez, I think it's going to be all trouble.
Yeah.
But I still think he gives Shakur trouble and Tank. I mean, I'm still curious to see how that goes. I think Tank's power is going to, bail him out of a lot of fights against these top guys there.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing. We always say, or people always tell me, it's boxing. It's not called knockouts. Yeah, but when another dude's got that equalizer over there, it becomes tough. And if we're talking about 140, Devin Haney should see if he could fight Barbosa, who can't punch. No, for real though, because at 140, what are we gonna do? Teofimo Lopez could crack. Matias, dude's a killer, literally. Tank, if he comes up, it just becomes. I think Ryan, he went in there knowing Devin can't hurt me.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And it's kind of, and even, I mean, it was kind of genius. I don't know if I want to give it to Derek James or Ryan, this whole thing, but he kind of had Haney coming forward, and Ryan was on the back foot. Now, that's cool. Okay, Devin Haney's going forward, but Ryan was never in any danger of getting hurt. We did say he kind of got caught one time, but he got himself together quick. But if Devin's going forward, that's cool. But bro, he don't have the power to really take advantage of that. And I think that he became a sitting duck for Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely, and it felt like that too. And there was a couple times where it just felt like Ryan was baiting him a little bit. It was after the 9th round. I was like, all right, next round I already can see what's happening. Ryan's going to drop him again because he's baiting him. He's letting Devin build his confidence back up, letting him think, okay, I'm working myself back into this fight, and then he walked right into something immediately.
So I'll ask you, Felix. I never ask questions on here. Do you think that's a Devin Haney chin problem? Like we've seen him wobbled now. Do you think he has a bad chin?
I think it's probably not a bad chin, but against elite level fighters, they will definitely find a way to make it work for them. In Ryan's case, that speed and power, lethal for him. In Tank's case, I think it's going to play right into Tank's favor against Haney. And if Raleigh and Haney went at it, I'd be curious to see how that turns out too. Only because Raleigh's a little wild, awkward, and he can, we know he's got power. He can land on Haney. So it might be. I want to see. The Linares fight was another thing. He wasn't that hurt. He was definitely rocked, but we'll see. I'll that thought for later on down the line with more fights from him for sure.
I mean, that might be a good comeback fight. Like I said, I do think he should fight someone like Barbosa who can't punch to save their lives. And Barbosa takes no. Yeah, so I do think Devin Haney on the comeback. I wouldn't be mad about a fight like that. And then kind of the next step, I wouldn't mind a Romero because Devin Haney's class is so much higher than him. Let's see if he can avoid that power. But I'm on the thinking it's going to be a long road back for Devin, bro. I don't think Devin can hop right into those killers at 140 because they're all power punchers. The ones we think of. In Tank's at 135, I get that. But in that little group, Teofimo, Tank, now Matias, bro, I don't think you could just hop right back into that without you're outgunned. Devin is going to be outgunned against those guys. What keeps him around is his skills. And I think he's going to have to build back up to that and build some confidence to even get into those type fights.
And this is another comment here too from Weedy. Real quick, I'll get to Bean's comment in a second, but Devin he weight drains himself too, so that could play a part of it. We've talked about that before. Is he self-sabotaging his own self with cutting weight, making himself weak? Because he does that a lot. Does Devin have more success as he moves up to higher weights too? It could definitely be.
If that chin's better, yeah. Like right now, I just feel like that chin is a weakness against those power punchers. Like his skills are gonna allow him. His skills would allow him to jump up in weight, right? I think those skills transcend weight classes, but it's what's coming back if he's gonna be able to take. And that's just I don't know. 147's very open right now. We've heard Ryan saying, "Oh, I'm at 147." You start thinking outside of Boots Ennis, there's really nothing there.
Yeah, it's 147 is going to be interesting.
We got. You could probably bring up the rankings, but like off the top of my head, we got Mario Barrios, who tanks already, beat Roman Villa, who's kind of go forward, but we saw what Boots did to him. Now, can everybody do that to him? I don't know, but I do think 147 is pretty open. So if Devin goes to 147 and his chin is stronger, okay, but the chin's the question to me.
Yeah, I think 147 is the right move for Devin, honestly. Maybe take a catchweight fight, 144 against somebody. But I think Devin at 147, we're going to see a lot more success. And that's where I would rather see a rematch with him and Ryan. I want to see them both healthy, and maybe they both grab some gold at 147. Because at the end of the day, Ryan still is yet to win a world title. So maybe 147. Well, it's got to be 147 now. He's clearly said he can't do 140. So we'll see, where he goes and who he targets next.
Santillan right there. He's gonna fight coming up. He's undefeated. Who did he beat? He beat was it Rocha? He beat pretty easy. And he's fighting someone, not a big name, but it might be for a belt or not. But I mean, that's a good fight. But I mean, that's the kind of guys that are going to be holding titles at 147. I don't know how long Boots is going to stay there.
I think he's going to have a solid run there because it took him a while to get there. And, now he's the email champion. He's going to want to defend that throne and become, a solid champion and a respectable champion there.
But I don't know his name. They call him Your Excellence. Your
Excellency. We'll just call him
the Saudi guy. His priority now that he's working with PBC is to make Boots and Terrence Crawford. Now, I don't think that's going to be at 147. Like, I think Boots wins the belt at 154. I think that card's already been announced or whatever. And now, does that pull Boots up? Or Crawford wins that belt? Then now, if that pulls Boots up, bro, all these belts are free.
Oh yeah, and right there at welterweight, there's still Cody Crowley, Josh Taylor, Connor Benn, Abel Ramos, who just had a win last weekend as well too. So there's a couple guys that Devin can get in there with and mix it up. I don't know where he stands as far as promotional ties now after this fight either, though.
No, I mean, I guess he's with Eddie Hearn, right? I don't know for how long or what.
Yeah, because he's always taking little short deals, which is great for him and the sport as well, too.
Well, I'll ask you this. Does Devin Haney need a new trainer?
Honestly, it could definitely benefit him. I think I want to say yes. It would be beneficial to him for sure. Just mix things up. Not that I think Bill is bad, but we don't know yet. We don't know what another trainer can bring Devin Haney yet. He's already a special fighter, and he might be one of those guys where, like Roy Jones, doesn't matter who his trainer is, he's going to perform no matter what. But I would like to see somebody else there. But then at the same time, what does Devin do wrong that he needs a new trainer too? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's where I said, if I said his chin's the problem, like, hey, you can't train a chin.
Right.
But then, like, I kind of go, like, yeah, you're right. What else could he do? Because he, I think, who was it? Nib saying he looked real regular. But, like, bro, that regular is really good. Like,
yeah.
If you bring that to a gym, like, bro, he does everything perfect. The only thing I would say is, like, maybe if a trainer said, hey, I could show you this, I could really help you. All right. Because, Bill, being the trainer and being the manager, I feel like he has a lot on his plate. And as a manager, I think he's done really well to get Devin, undisputed 2 weight classes, get Devin into these huge type of fights. I don't think it would hurt to maybe bring in a different trainer. If you've been training your kid since he was, probably since he could walk, maybe bring in someone to assist you. So I don't know. Yeah. I do think that's an option out there.
I think maybe somebody to come in and really teach him how to sit down and work on his power shots a little bit more might be the only thing. But yeah, Devin does everything,
but
by the book.
Wheaty's comment right there, he doesn't adjust. That's right. I didn't see any adjustment. He kind of, he kept following Ryan around and then would get hit by something big. And there was really never any adjustment. There was really never any adjustment in the Lomachenko fight either.
Yeah, that's true too. And maybe that's part of Bill Haney's problem too. Maybe he couldn't really adjust in there and see stuff. So maybe they need a good second coach, or maybe Bill needs to be the second coach, and they get somebody in there to really work on that. We'd be curious to see how it turns out. A lot of fighters do blame their trainer after a loss. In this situation, it's a father and son relationship. Those are always rocky, up and down. Some of them stay together. The Mosleys didn't. Trinidad's did. Some. It just depends on how that's going to work and how the relationship is. Even if Devin did go with somebody new, I can still see Bill being around there all the time and still staying in the manager position.
And that's what I could kind of see, and maybe I would suggest. I mean, I have no whatever, but I would say hey, Bill, handle the business manager role, and then be here while I don't even know who I'd bring in, but while a different trainer, just to see if they can add something to what Devin Haney has. But I really think his problem is his chin has been checked, and he doesn't have the power to keep those big punches off. So pretty much he's going to be in a tough fight anytime he fights someone that can crack.
Right.
And I mean, at 140, man, you just get the speed and power. 140, 147, we've always said those weight classes have always kind of produced big stars, because they got speed and power. They kind of got everything. So if you don't have a chin and don't have power, man, it's just going to be tough. And that's why I said earlier, I don't know if Devin really comes back.
We'll see. I personally, as a fan, I hope so. And it's crazy because, before we're both never big Devin guys, but he's proven a lot and shown a lot. And that's the kind of fighter that you really want in the sport. We definitely want Devin back for sure.
We weren't big Devin guys until Devin did what we ask every boxer to do.
Right.
Go fight for that title. Right. Devin gave up everything to go fight in Australia. And then he had to do it again because of rematch clause. Then he came over and then he fought Regis Prograis. Right. And he's just done everything that we say we want boxers to do. So you got to give respect to Devin Haney. It's just, I think it's going to be tough for him to come back.
It'll be tough road back, but I think he's gonna take it. We'll see how things shake out from here.
Well, I'll tell you this, Felix, because I mean, I don't know if this was off the record or not, but you were like, "Yo, I can't wait for Ryan Garcia to get beat, be out of the sport, all this stuff." Where is Ryan Garcia in this sport right now? Because he just completely demolished, outclassed a top pound for pound guy.
He shook it all up, and I sent a tweet out Sunday or whenever. He made that area, weight division area, a whole lot more interesting again, because a lot of other people as well were done. We wrote Ryan off. We didn't want to see him around. Now it's like, all right, we do want to see him, because we also see, as I mentioned before, we knew what he was capable of, but now we can see what he's capable of against another top talent and in a healthy shape. We saw Tank get him out of there because we thought he wasn't ready for Tank too. But really, the story wasn't that. It's not that he wasn't ready for Tank. So now it's a lot more interesting, and I want to see more Ryan. I don't want to see those antics anymore because they were not They were not entertaining in any way, shape, or form. He tried doing what Mayorga did. He tried doing what Tyson did. He tried doing what all these guys did. It worked for all of them. It didn't work for him. Nobody was entertained by any of it at all. But
what was he trying to entertain us? I don't know if it was necessarily about us or about the crowd. Like I said, I don't think he was trying to sell the fight, but I think that had to be going through Devin's head.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think that was perfect strategy from him on that side. And I want to see what he can do now, because we can see what a focused and healthy Ryan can do. I'm curious to see from here on out, what he has to offer against the top guys at 147 or, wherever he wants to go, because it's a big kid still. Eventually, he's going to be at 154. I'm sure of it.
Oh, he called it a Fundora already.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't even say anything. I'm like, yo, like, all right, bro. Like, I thought you were crazy. So now if you're calling out Fundora, like, hey, let's go ahead. Let's see it. Yeah, man, it was a wild weekend. But I do want you, Felix, to tell everybody, let everybody know, right before the fight, who was taking all bets on Ryan Garcia.
Yeah. Both of us, really. But
you did too. You did too. Yeah. Let me let them know. Felix was placing the bets, in the sports book on Ryan Garcia. So
yeah, I can't lie. I was making last minute bets because I was like, thinking about the antics was one thing, but then thinking about what Ryan's capable of, I was like, yeah, I can't not afford to take this plus 700 on a Ryan knockout, because it's not out the question.
All talent wise, when someone's been boxing their whole life, and you give those kind of odds, that's crazy. So yeah.
Yeah, I did. Bean knows too. I sent him that in a text also.
And you should have won that fight, or you should have won that bet.
No,
that round 7, Harvey Doc. Show me your your betting sheets, because he had to have the over on that fight.
Yeah, without a doubt. Or
I've never seen a more depressed looking ref holding up the winner's hand. Like, that was crazy, bro.
That was bad refereeing. And not only that, but take away the 7th round. But I've never seen a referee not be able to control the fighters. Whether people think that he was favoring somebody or not, he was not in control of that fight at all. I don't know how many times he said this is the last warning to both guys about a bunch of different things, and not once did he do anything. The only time he did something was when there was never a warning issued.
Right.
Bad performance from him at all, or bad performance from him that's one guy we don't want to see back. Not that we don't want to see him back refereeing. He still needs a job, but not at the high level that he had this last weekend. Let's see him on some pro box cards or some undercard fights, something like that. But Harvey Doc is going to need to work his way back up to a championship level refereeing fight again.
Like I said, I thought that was an all-time bad officiating. So...
yeah, see, Gary Antoine Russell was pretty confident of Ryan win. Picked Ryan for 9-10 KO.
I didn't see that. That's crazy.
I was pretty confident too, especially watching that fight. That first round had me excited.
I placed the money on the under. I think I went like under 10, and then I was like, nah. I even took, because there were so many prop bets. I even took the under 9. And I took Ryan for the KO. And, bro, I was hot, bro. I was like, yo, what is going on right now in that 7th round? Like I said, I've never seen a ref not have the fighter raise their gloves and walk forward. Like, I'm 100% sure Devin would have at least stumbled or not been all there.
And there was somebody that I saw. I don't remember what it was. I was scrolling through Instagram earlier. Forgot which fighter it was that was saying it. Basically saying that Ryan lacks a killer instinct. He doesn't know how to finish fighters, which kind of had me mad, because I was hoping the 12th round he did it, and he chose to kind of play around that last round.
Yeah.
Do you think he doesn't know how to finish guys either?
No, I just think Devin Haney is a pro. Right, like I said, I think Devin Haney was all heart. he wasn't gonna. There were plenty of ways for him to get out of that fight, and I think Devin Haney was like, "I'm gonna finish this fight."
Yeah.
So I don't think it was a killer instinct that Ryan didn't have. I think Ryan just knew, right? Like they had history, 6 fights together, even if the first fight was when they were 10 years old or whatever. Devin Haney is a really good fighter.
Yeah.
And I think Ryan kind of knew that, right? Like you can't just go crazy. So I wouldn't put too much into that. Pugilist right there, he said he thought Ryan might Oliver McCall it. Bro, I think a lot of people thought that. I think the bookmakers thought that. Right? Like look at the odds.
Yeah.
That wasn't reflective of Ryan's talent. That was reflective of what was happening with social media antics and Ryan and all this. So yeah, I don't think you were the only one thinking that.
Yeah, Ryan did. Somebody pointed out to me, Jake, he's a trainer out here in Tucson, said that Ryan basically did what Cassius Clay did against Sonny Liston. Had everybody thinking he was crazy. He was out of his mind, especially fighting somebody like Sonny Liston at that point of his career, being so inexperienced, his first world title fight. They didn't think he was going to perform, and look what he did. Ryan basically followed that blueprint there.
I saw what is his name? Showbiz. I really enjoy his page on Instagram. I agree with him a lot of times, and he's been showing the similarities between Ryan and Ali. And when you first see it, you think, "Yo, that's crazy. Don't be doing that." But like, it is what it is, man. Like Ryan was a huge underdog. And Ryan was telling you the whole time what he was going to do. So, I mean, I think that's crazy anytime you mention someone's doing the same thing as Ali did. But, hey, they did it. And, Weedy right there, Felix, the Ryan carried Dev, if you want to throw that up there.
Yeah.
After the fight, the commentators or whatever said Ryan bet $2 million on himself and he won like $12 million or whatever. That's crazy because the odds weren't that crazy. But, one of my boys worked it out and said, "Oh, Ryan bet the decision." Because the decision, the odds for Ryan to win by decision, they would have paid out what they said. So I don't know if Ryan bet the decision and kind of, hey, we're friends, let's carry him off to the end. I don't know if that's what happened, but odds and what the commentators were saying he made, maybe he did. Who knows?
Yeah, that was a great game plan from him, like you said, because he made even the odds makers believe he was crazy and out of his mind, and that's a perfect way. You bet on yourself, and it's a perfect way to make some side money there.
Oh yeah, and hey, we've talked about this, right? About they fought 6 times, and I didn't put too much into that because they were kids. But those last fights, and it's been verified, I think, on video, and other people have said, like, I think Ryan said, like, when I hit him, I shook him.
Yeah.
So if Ryan goes into that fight knowing, every time I touch this guy, I hurt him, and he had headgear on, and I had big gloves on. And we know Devin Haney's not really known for a puncher. I think that all played into it, man. And I don't know if I'm giving Ryan too much credit for being that smart, but bro, I got to give it to him.
Yeah. No, without a doubt. Great night for him. He definitely has everybody now interested in seeing what's next for him. And, with that, what do you think is next for him?
I mean, we'll get there right now. But even like before, when we were talking about it last week, like we were just unsure what is happening, right? Because we kept saying like, this isn't selling tickets. So what is the purpose? And I said, why hasn't Derek James said anything?
Yeah.
And that kind of goes to it like, hey, maybe that was part of the game plan. Let's just let them think because Derek James never said anything. Ryan Garcia's brother, who is also kind of, he's on social media too. He never said anything. The dad never said anything. So, maybe they knew, like, hey, this is the plan. So,
what was funny too is I don't know if you guys saw anybody in the comments can put if they saw it too, but there was a backstage interaction. Eddie Hearn is getting interviewed, and Ryan Garcia's dad comes back, and they exchange some F-bombs to each other. And Ryan's like, "Yeah, who do you got now to fight me?" And he's like talking trash, and Eddie Hearn's like, "Boots Ennis," and Ryan's dad's like, "I apologize."
So, before the apology, he said, "Yo, why not Pitbull?" He said, "Yeah." So like, that was funny though, right? Because like, is Boots? Did Boots, the name of Boots alone, shut down Henry Garcia's dad, or what? But yeah, that's a funny video. Look that up. Ask Felix if you can't find it. Felix send you a link. But yeah, it was like, good. Who's that? You said Luke Campbell, Devin Haney, who? Eddie Hearn says, "Boots in it." Why not Pitbull? Hey, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
That was great. That was a funny moment. That was definitely funny. And then he completely apologized and everything. Eddie Hearn,
cool, man. I respect it though, man, because like at that moment, bro, he's got to be so amped up. Henry Garcia, Ryan Garcia's dad. Yeah. Right? Like you figure, bro, everybody in the world is calling your son crazy, calling them this, calling them that. There was a press conference and Eddie Hearn was saying Devin Haney's unbeatable. So yeah, for that to happen, you could imagine why Ryan Garcia's dad would be amped up.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And anybody who has kids, you watch your son perform and do something like that, you're gonna be proud as well.
And then respect to Eddie Hearn too, because he gave Ryan Garcia props.
Yeah,
and Eddie Hearn's been giving us great fights. And I do think Eddie Hearn is one of the good guys in boxing that wants to see what us fans want to see. So it was a funny interaction, bro, for sure. If whoever's watching, go look that up.
Yeah, definitely. And what Pugilist said here as well, Forrest and Mosley. Forrest did have Mosley's number in amateurs and pros. And that's a good point because at the end of the day, Mosley is still a better fighter. But there's going to be those guys. Roy Jones is still a better fighter than Tarver, but there's those guys that have their number that will give them problems every time. And in Forrest and Mosley's case, it was back-to-back losses for Ryan and Haney. They went 3-3 in the amateurs. Their last fight was when they were 16. They've had plenty of time to grow since then too. But as you can see, the pro ranks, it's still continuing on, and we are going to see a rematch down the line. I'm pretty sure of it.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think Ryan, if you have that in your pocket, that if I hit this guy, I hurt him. If he hits me, he might hit me a lot of times, but I'm never going to be hurt. I think that gives Ryan the advantage, man. Like Ryan just knows I just have to hit him once, and he's fast enough that that's gonna happen.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it happened in the first round immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Weedy, he's living up to his name, Weedy Gonzalez. He won beer and weed money. So congrats on that. Yeah, I mean, that happens a lot too. A lot of guys fight amateurs. So it doesn't always translate that way, but some guys do always have your number no matter what. Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez, it seems like it's a big, hot fight for a lot of people online already. That's after this weekend. I mean, you think about the history of those two, not with each other, but the history in selling fights with all the mental health struggles and everything as well, too. This one has the makings to be a complete implosion in itself, but in ring, that's a very good and interesting fight.
Yeah, and shoot, man, yeah. I mean, they're two of the four kings, right? Like we want to see it. We've always wanted to see it. I think Ryan, where Teofimo can be at 140, and I think he kind of cares more about those belts than maybe Ryan. Maybe. I would like to see Teofimo knock off Tank, or not even saying he's going to beat Tank, but at least that fight happen at a legitimate weight class.
Yeah.
And Ryan's kind of like, yo, I'm bigger than this game. Like I'll fight where I want to fight. So I kind of see that fight happening maybe a little later, but definitely want to see it.
And again, I didn't think about this too. Their dads alone. Well, never mind. I'm thinking about Bill Haney, but Bill Haney and Teofimo's dad, but even Ryan's dad he's gotten in there, mixed it up verbally with some of them too. But Haney and Teofimo would be a good one as well too, which is a fight we've always wanted to see. Now that one would have a good build up because again, their fathers and their top rank history with each other. They've always missed each other somehow fighting.
Yeah, for some reason, why? Like, right. Why are we missing each other? Right? They should be there. And that last comment, Road to Redemption. I've never made any excuses for
I think Road to Redemption just joined the conversation. You must have just tuned in for sure because
you're watching the wrong show if you think I'm making excuses for Devin Haney.
I don't think. You definitely just joined You need a Road to Redemption now, buddy. But yeah, Haney and Teofimo would be a fun one.
I do think Teo is comfortable there at 140 to take on and fight for those belts, And I would like to see Teofimo against Tank. I would like to see Teofimo against Haney. I think he beats both, honestly. Like, Teofimo's my guy. And then, hey, Ryan, if Ryan wants to be there at 144, 145, whatever. Like I said, welterweight's wide open, bro. If you get Boots out of there, who Ryan has said he would fight Boots. But if you get Boots out of there, bro, that's wide open. We got Santillan, yeah. We've mentioned that name, but
there's some dogs at 140 that if they all come up to 147, which it's about time, it's going to happen sooner or later. I mean, Ryan's already making the move, but I mean, 140 historically is always the hottest division in boxing. And there's, the guys that are at the top of the level that are going to move on to the next weight class. And it's about that time at some point this year for those guys to move on up. And then there's, a lot of contenders underneath at 140 that are going to take that place and fill that void. With that being said, 147 can be interesting at the end of this year or beginning of next year, I think.
Let's have a discussion on Road to Redemption. Road to Redemption. Why is Virgil fighting Thomas DeLorde at 154? Like, come on, man. I love Virgil, but that fight's garbage. You help me with that?
And yeah, we mess with you too, Weedy. It's always fun. We always have the regulars here. Being Bill Haney versus B-Hop, that would be a fun one. I would rock with B-Hop for sure, unless it's on the mic. Bill Haney's got that. But we got the regulars in here all the time too. So I
got to throw this out too, Felix. How sad was that? The after party for Devin Haney, where
my God,
Devin Haney has a cake in front of him, and somebody is saying, "And still, because technically Devin Haney is still the champion." But when you're celebrating that, bro, that just looks sad to me. What do you think?
I don't know if he can even claim that though. Isn't the title vacated now?
I think I heard or I read the WBC. Usually it's vacated, but I think they still allowed him to be the champ.
That's that was sad. That's another sad video. I wanted to look more into it because I refused. Just as a Haney supporter, I was like, I cannot believe that he would be out celebrating having a cake. I get it. You're even after a loss, you're going to be around your friends, family.
Like our boy Jack said, right? Like, no, there was no 24 hours cancellation.
Yeah,
they had to go there. They had to do it. It was bad. It was all bad.
It was sad. It was definitely sad to see. I'm hoping that's an old video, but if it is not an old video, Devin Haney was celebrating with his friends and family. Had just a cake with candles, and people were saying, and still champion after that loss. I mean, that's a bad way to go out.
Technically, they didn't lie. He still is the champ, but oh man, that was all bad.
You know what was really sad though, and I felt this as a father myself. I felt this, but they put the mics in the corner Bill Haney had a lot to talk about before the fight. The first time they put the mic on him was the first time Haney got dropped. Literally, as the mic's on him, the camera's on him, goes down. And if you're not a Haney fan, what a perfect time for you to see that happen, because it's right in his face. The camera's on it. You can see everybody and the reactions. That was a messed up part for him.
Yeah.
I felt bad for him on that one right there.
And like I said, man, it's Devin and Bill Haney have got to this spot basically on their own. So props to them, man. Like we're talking about them. They're two of the biggest names in the sport. But yeah, it didn't look good Saturday.
Yeah, and Devin did look. Thankfully, he just doesn't have a broken jaw. But he definitely looked like Ali after that first Frazier fight, without a doubt. I mean, we're making Ali references. There's another one right there, because that jaw was swollen on both sides. I'm curious to know what injury it is, because if it's not broken, it's definitely got to be fractured or something. There's no way.
I thought it was broken, man.
Yeah, I thought so as well too. He got the participation trophy cake. But at the end of the day, much respect to both Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia. They both performed like true champions.
They made the fight happen, man. They fought each other, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, Tank Davis fighting Frank Martin. Nobody asked for that fight. Ryan Garcia fought Devin Haney, and we've been talking about this fight for a couple years now. So props to them. Props to Devin. Everything he's done. Like I said, I don't know if he comes back from this, but that's what we want to see in a boxer.
Yeah, without a doubt. And before we start wrapping it up, real quick for everybody to tune in tonight, I'm gonna have a special occasion. It's something that doesn't get done. Actually, I want to go in and just go out on a limb and say first time ever, because I don't see anybody doing it. But I did a face off last week with two local guys that are going to be at a local show this coming weekend. It's got a lot of good reception. So because of that, I'm actually going to have a few fighters, not guys that are against each other, but a few fighters tomorrow night. We're going to do a live stream, basically a virtual press conference, the way Brian Custer used to host when he was with Showtime Sports. Virtual press conference we're going to have tomorrow night. Support some local Arizona fighters. If you guys are not doing anything, come on in and ask some questions. You guys are entertaining. We appreciate you having you here on Monday nights with us, especially this late too. But just throwing it out, that's going to be tomorrow night. 3, maybe 4 fighters. So that should be fun. And like Nibs always says on Friday nights at Catch and Counter, support local boxing. And this is going to be a great way to do it as well too. So come in tomorrow night for some fun.
And this weekend, we do got Vergil Ortiz. We do got Jose Ramirez fighting in complete mismatches. But, those are two big names in the sport. Vergil Ortiz, bro, come on, man. I'm a fan, but you shouldn't be fighting Thomas Delorme. If you don't get him out of there in 3 rounds, then you might be slacking. And also, Knuckle Mania. Mike Perry, Alves, that's going to be a good fight. And on the boxing end, we got Alfredo Angulo making his debut in the bare knuckle. So, hey, I'm interested for that, just being a fan of violence.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. Knuckle Mania, I'll definitely be tuning into that over the Thomas Delorme fight. Of course, we're going to see highlights of that, but the Knuckle Mania, the bare knuckle, the Knuckle Mania, those kind of things they're getting more and more popular, and we're seeing fighters get into that. Guillermo Rigondeaux is going to be having a fight. I don't know when that one is going to be, and I think it's for BKB, right?
I'm not sure who.
Yeah, but you've seen a lot of these guys. Austin Trout is having a lot of success right now in that sport too.
Trout the champ, right? Like, bro, I don't even know where this is going, but give me Alfredo Angulo, Austin Trout, bare knuckle. Oh
yeah, all day. That's great right there. Yeah, we mess with the bare knuckle stuff too. We don't really post news or report about it, but we mess with it for sure. And yeah, Road to Redemption. I'm in Arizona myself, but we're ITR. We're scattered around the entire country. There's a staff of us. So me personally, I'm out here though. But yeah, no, I'll if you want to see some more bare knuckle content, we'll definitely throw some up there for you, Weedy, and we'll be covering the results for Knuckle Mania next Monday for sure too.
Yeah, I think, bro, that's it. That might be the biggest, most entertaining card of the weekend. Like I said, yeah, Vergil Ortiz, Jose Ramirez, those are big names of boxing, but come on, if they don't win within 3 rounds, then they're not who we thought they were. So Knucklemania. I think it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah, without a doubt. Any other final comments, Ray?
No, man. Well, I'll let you take your shots for Crappy Ramirez next week if you want.
Yeah, next week, definitely. And next week will be a preview for Canelo Munguia as well, too. So it'll be a big show. And it'll be 2 days before my birthday. So, hey, it'll be birthday shots as well. So it's next Monday is going to be a fun show. Make sure you guys get your shots and come drink with us. It's going to be a fun night, and we'll have a lot of nonsense to talk about for sure. But until then,
I'm always taking shot bets. So, hey, tell me who you got and how many shots you wanted. And if I got the other guy, I'm down.
Yeah, we that's the thing. We don't bet money between each other. We bet shots. So I currently owe Ray, I don't know what is it, 3 shots because 2 shots over Scrappy. All right, yeah, 2. So next weekend we'll see. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be some more shots over Knucklemania. I got to redeem myself. I actually don't think I've ever beat Ray in any of these shot bets, but at one point I had to owe him 7, which Nibs came in and saved the day, took some of those for me. But yeah, next week tune in. We're gonna have fun, and thanks again for tuning in tonight, y'all, and come in tomorrow night for the virtual press conference as well.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all.